It's very brightly colored and it's very loud, and it's fun for a while.
We want to be free to do what we want to do.
Muhammad Ali and Sonny Barker, the president of Hell's Angels.
This is 109.5.
So something a bit different today, a podcast recorded at home, at the house with someone face to face, not on Zoom for once. So, I started this podcast during lockdown to kind of connect with people at that time, and everything's been on Zoom pretty much. So great to have, a face to face podcast and hopefully do more of these. And, that'll mean kind of chatting to the local people in my town here. And the first is with Eddie. He was Special Forces in the US Army. He went to Iraq after 9/11, and shortly after coming out of that went into protective private security, where he's done kind of 7 years in Iraq and 8 years in Afghanistan. So 15-year career that may or may not be at an end, and as you'll hear from chatting on the podcast. So he was also awarded the Commendation for Heroism by the US Ambassador in 2017. So yeah, a great guy. Been living here in Pai for 6 years. He runs Pai Adventures, does whitewater rafting, trekking. He's a good mate. Wanted to get him on to chat about, his life in the military, how he got to Pai and what he's doing. So it's far from professional. We recorded it on my laptop and phone, but yeah, the sound is good. We had some at least half decent microphones. So I hope you enjoy it, and yeah, hopefully do a few more of these and speak to the locals in Pai. Cheers.
Is there a bad day in Pai?
That's what a great opening line. Friday, cheers.
Cheers.
Is there a bad day in Pai? Yeah.
Right.
Maybe not. I don't know. It's a very good question. What brought you to Pai then? How long? Obviously we know each other, but it's funny when you know people and you're in pubs and you're doing stuff, but you never really get to ask often some of the bigger questions. But I don't even know how long you've actually been here, really, and what brought you here.
Wow. So 6 years total.
Yep.
We were doing family fun time, which we travel around and do outdoor activities. So we went to Chiang Mai and we went rafting. What makes it really interesting is the wife and I were having a conversation. I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool to own something like this? Like, for my retirement project to keep me home.
Yeah.
And we'd heard about Pai. We came over, we saw rafting. So we went rafting. And on the way back, the guy was like, yeah, I think I want to sell. And he told me what he wanted. We went back to Bangkok. We talked about it. And I was like, let's make an offer.
Awesome.
And the rest is history.
And when was that? That was...
Yeah, 6 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've done 6 years. Well, we've been back for 3 years, but so you've done 6 years. So 3 good, 3 challenging.
3 good
2
ones. 4 started to taper off because of immigration policies and stuff. It was kind of, and then they inflated it quite a bit. But yeah, it was 4 good years of taking a company that was, dying. They didn't want it anymore, and building it up to where we're one of the top rated companies around. So yeah, it was a lot of work, and then to see COVID kind of close the doors for 2 years was a little bit disheartening and everything, but we're being optimistic, and hopefully everybody else recovers along with us.
Well, it seems like it's coming out of it, doesn't it? It does seem like we're kind of,
it does.
Things are starting up again. I reckon, I don't even think I need to cross fingers, but I think we're going to have a super busy high season up here, and the stuff you do will be super busy, I would hope.
Yeah, we're hoping. We're starting to get emails, we're starting to get bookings and stuff. It's slowly trickling in, so it's at least moving in the right direction.
Yeah, right. We've got a couple of dogs down here for the audience, but anyway, hopefully they won't get tangled up in the microphones. But when you first come up, so you were still, obviously, I want to talk about your military journey and background and that. When you first came up here, you were still, until quite recently, working in private security after your military career, so going back into Afghanistan, embassy security. Yeah. That's stuff you've now done for a number of years since coming out of the military?
Man, total, right around 15 years, a little bit more contracting. From 7 years in Iraq to 8 years in Afghanistan. That's pretty much 10 months out of each year, being gone, which is kind of tough. But it was a necessity for me, my skill set was military. And being a special operations guy, that doesn't really transition over to a lot of other fields. So, the global war on terror presented an opportunity for guys like us to do private security and, high threat diplomatic protection and, a six-figure income to a guy that's, used to a military, salary. That's very appealing, and it was life-changing money, and so there was a lot of guys that got in, made money, got out, and everything was great. And some of us got out, took chances, lost money, and had to go back and grind at it some more. And then COVID obviously prolonged it and made it worse. So it was just necessity.
Who knows? I mean, maybe a blessing in disguise off the back of COVID. Maybe this will be the start of, a lot of stuff new. So
I think, it's kind of well known that generational wealth is created after a recession.
Yeah.
So now's the time for those entrepreneurs that were able to hold on to a little bit of money to spring forth that new idea and take some risks and chances and let loose that business idea that you've been thinking about. Now is actually the absolute best time to do that. So we're hoping with Pai Adventures to expand in a couple different areas as well. Money obviously is being very tight post COVID, but now's the time to strike. So that's what we're going all in once again, so.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a military person, know nothing about it, but it's funny you say that about a lot of you guys coming out of the military when you say you guys, I've now met, since being in Thailand, a lot of people.
Quite a few.
Who are ex-military, worked in private security. We obviously, have mutual friends but I mean, going right back, did you kind of fall into the military? Was it always on the agenda coming out of school? Was it,
No, for me, I was an all-star athlete in high school, and I had colleges kind of after me. My downfall was I didn't like school. My parents had rules. You had to have certain grades to be able to play sports, so that made me hit the minimum for their standards, but it just was not appealing to me whatsoever. I did it because I have to, because I wanted to play ball. Then from there, going to college, did a year of college, played 2 sports. I came from a lower middle class family. Sometimes money was good, sometimes not so good. But to pay for college, we didn't have that kind of money. And the scholarships weren't that great. And I was actually working in between classes, pushing a little donut cart and stuff. And then I went to the wrong school. I went to a religious university, and wasn't my cup of tea. So I was like, well, what are my options? The military's always been there. I grew up in the 80s in America, where it was the Stallone and the Schwarzenegger movies. That's the stuff I grew up watching. So of course there was that patriotism side, and the being an athlete. I'm like, yeah, I could do that stuff. So originally I was trying to go into the SEAL program, and I'm colorblind, so that put an end to that. So I transitioned over to the Army.
That was what held you back, was it? So oh man, that's tough.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and it's a good thing now, because now I know more what they do.
Did you have to go through the pre-training for it then, or you just
no?
Got
it was
pulled
just,
up at the medical or whatever?
Yeah, just at the medical.
Okay.
Yeah, I even tried to cheat on the colorblind test, and I'm glad I didn't get in, because that would have been a disaster. So then, it was the Army. So I was like, well, what do you have that's like the SEALs? And they were like, the Ranger Regiment, and they're trying to discourage me from it. Oh, nobody makes it, and I was like, yeah, well, you're never going to make it if you don't try. And I was fortunate enough to make it into the regiment, and the idea was to go in and get college money and then go back and go to school. So I signed up for one enlistment, did the regiment, got out, and then life happens.
Yeah, right.
All of a sudden it's, well, I got to pay for a place to live and to put gas in my gas tank, and next thing you know, you're working, and college just gets kind of put off. And that's kind of the rut that I fell into, and I was working dead-end jobs and mills, and I was like, this is just not what I had planned for my life.
Yeah.
And 9/11 happened, and I watched the first year on TV, and I'm like, I can't just sit here and shove wood into a milling machine. This is pointless. Yeah. And so I signed up with the Oregon National Guard, who deployed straight away, And while I was there, I started running into these guys with beards and tattoos and all these awesome guns and attachments. And I'm like, I've worked with most special operations group. Who the heck are you guys? And then, they'd tell me some company name, and I'm like, the heck is that? They're like, well, we're contractors.
Oh,
I
you
yeah,
come
I had
across
no
these guys.
idea.
This was on your. Did you do? By the way, you do 2 tours?
No, I did one with the military.
Okay,
and
one
that
with
was
the
in
military.
Baghdad.
Right. Okay.
And so going
So you
into the
started
green
seeing
zone,
these guys already,
seeing
and you're
these
like-
guys, I'm like, who the heck are these guys?
Yeah.
And he tells me he's a contractor, and it's embarrassing now, but it was, it's funny. I looked at him, I was like, you build shit? Like, get out of here. No, we're security contractors. So, I started talking to them, finding out who they are, what they do, and they started telling me the money they make. And I had a little book, and I was writing down every single company, because every single guy I saw, hey, who are you with? All right, what do you do? All right, and I'd write it down. So when I got home from that deployment, I sent out 42 resumes.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Until I got picked up.
You clearly had a business head on you for it. I mean, that because like I said, I don't know a huge amount about the military, but when I look at the earnings of what you can gain going into private security versus a military career, I imagine you've got to be in the top. What the top of the top come out of the military earning, or you see all these guys making money off books and speaking and everything, but there below that is a massive pyramid of people, unfortunately, I imagine, that have got very little they can do, right?
Yeah, you pick your MOS, your job title in the military carefully, something that will transition outside of the military if you decide to get out, and infantry and stuff like that. Yeah, there is some things that employers will look at if you were a sergeant in the infantry or something as far as leadership and that kind of stuff. But, unless you're taking college courses, which that's highly recommended now, you kind of go back and you're a laborer,
Right.
Which is, for guys that did a combat tour that, literally you've seen the movies, I've had millions of dollars of stuff that I've been signed for and these missions where people's lives were at stake. And there's actually a lot of truth to that. And then when you go back and it's like the best job you can get is working at McDonald's, it's like,
man.
Are you kidding me?
Well, also, I mean, I imagine there's no adrenaline working at McDonald's either. So just dealing with that change of professional lifestyle must be massively difficult to cope with, and
let alone
go
just
home at night and watch TV. I mean, fuck.
Yeah. No, it's and then there's things that, a lot of people don't even think about. It's like, you've built up this reunion with your wife when you come back from this deployment, it's 13 months and, in your head, you're running through the field. There's a slow motion montage as, you hug and you go home and you make love, and it's this, amazing thing. And what you get, and a lot of times is, you get that. But after a day or so, your wife has changed her life completely to fit you being gone.
Yeah.
She's got her new routine. Now you come home and you're disrupting things. So there's tension where no one plans for tension when you come home. It's supposed to be this glorious reunion, and that kind of stuff, man, nobody prepares you for that. And that's where it really starts to hit your heart hard. You're prepared yourself in a lot of aspects for the potential of post-traumatic stress and stuff, but it's that kind of stuff, that sneaky stuff that, you and your wife are a perfect relationship. You have a beautiful marriage, and then you come home and there's like these uncomfortableness, these type of things, and that's the stuff that's hard to deal with, that starts adding up, and you see a lot of guys that they get depressed over that kind of stuff because it's not the kinds of things they're expecting when they come home. They're expecting that I got to find a job, and but
The
it's
practical shit, not the emotional shit.
Yeah, man. You think, I'm a tough guy, I can shut off emotion, and combat, you dehumanize the enemy, and and then you come home and you're supposed to just be all back to being normal. You're never normal. You're never back to the person you were when you first went. And it doesn't matter if you did one deployment or you did 50 deployments. You did one and you saw bad shit, or you were being mortared at night, and then just being away. I'm not one of those guys that if you weren't a special forces guy, then your deployment doesn't count.
Yeah.
Those supply guys, they're away from their families and they have to go home to the same issues that we deal with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times people lose sight of that kind of stuff. They're like, oh, well, you know, they were just on the fobs. They actually didn't go out and do anything. You know what? They were gone for 13 months just like you. And when they come home, there's problems and there's issues and there's struggles and challenges. And a lot of people aren't prepared for that, you know.
Did you, you know, obviously you worked through that and we can chat about that, but did you, or did you not have kind of coping mechanisms at the time dealing with it? Or is it just like you had no idea and then you get back and you're like, shit, I've dealt with a lot of shit and now it's coming back at me?
Well, so I did my first combat deployment and I came back and I was going through a divorce at the time, and I redeployed contracting. So then by the time my post-traumatic stress hit, I had a pretty sizable bank account. And no, I was not prepared. Not in the slightest. Man, that was,
so you had no,
that was
I
like
mean,
2005 when I came
when
back.
I say you're not prepared, you had no fucking idea it was going to hit you.
I thought, you know, I wasn't having nightmares. I didn't have feelings of guilt.
Yeah, right.
I shouldn't have problems, but it was like, you know, you go from 0 to maximum effort in a millisecond over there, and most of the emotions that you feel while you're deployed revolve around anger. You know what I mean? Not good feelings, like anger. Like you see one of your buddies get hurt, you see women and children get killed, and you get fucking mad. Like, so you go from 0 to maximum effort, and then you come home and little things set you off, and you yell, and God, it was just ridiculous. You know, and for me, terrifying my son was my breaking point. One of my mechanisms I had as a soldier was I can dehumanize people. That's just part of the job. You have to do it. It's not a good thing, don't get me wrong, but I can never do that to women and children. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And so women and children were always, if my guys were doing their jobs and, you know, using foul language or maybe getting a little too aggressive, hey guys, there's kids here, man. So it was a way for me to dial things down. So for me, that was my mechanism. And when I scared my son, you know, yeah, it broke me. That literally crushed me. And that was when I began to heal. So then I knew that I had to have a mechanism in place, like you said. So for me, it was almost like split personalities. I go contracting or in the military, and they're like, I can't believe you were this like hippie from Oregon. And then my friends are like, I can't believe you're this special operations guy and do the things that you do. I literally go to work and I forget about home. I'll talk to my wife, but I don't dwell on home. I dwell on what keeps people alive. That's my job. And then when I come home, I literally, I go back to work, and I've been doing it for 8 years in the same location. And still when I come back from leave, I have to go grab our SOPs, our standing operating procedures, and read them because I forget it. I literally shut it off to the point where I come back and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what we do. And it sounds ridiculous, but for me to last 14 years after having a pretty serious bout with post-traumatic stress, that's how I did it. I just turn it off and turn it on. Two separate people. I have to do that for work to provide for my family. It's a necessity. I have to do it. So let's, you know, it's not an option. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. And did that, I mean, you did your tour of Baghdad, but most, you know, the whole private security contracting where you're out for what, 7-8 months at a time or whatever it is. I mean, was it any different, or you're seeing the same stuff? You're experiencing the same?
The same stuff, man. I mean, I've done multiple jobs. I've secured oil facilities down south, doing risk assessments and threat analysis and that kind of stuff, making sure that you know, the oil company's employees were being protected properly by the security firm that they hired. I was kind of like the quality control guy. Then from there, I went to transitioning Iraqis from AKs to M16s, and I was a team lead on that. Did that for 2-3 years. And then from there started my diplomatic security career, which was in Iraq, and then switched over to Afghanistan. Dude, the Halliburton down south, the oil company, man, we were being shelled and mortared and rocketed nonstop.
So no difference.
It was insane.
No difference to being.
Yeah,
you're in a war
IED'd
situation,
out on the routes.
Yeah, okay.
Then, going the military instructor one. That we were on the base, but then diplomatic security, picking up people, driving them through Baghdad. Man, getting blown up. Yeah, it was just the same. And I probably saw more action throughout my security career than I did my military deployment.
I ask because, and it's interesting. The question I was going to ask is, when the military, when they deal with this in terms of, bringing you back into society and dealing with, the shit that you've dealt with versus, when you're working in private security, is there any difference? Does no one do anything? Are you just got to look after yourself?
No, so the military, they have a whole post-deployment thing when you come back. I was actually really impressed, and that was early on. So when I hear soldiers saying that there was nothing available to them, I don't know. We had everything available to us. I don't know if that was just the state of Oregon doing that for their guys. Each state may be different, I don't know, but we had everything. They sat us down with healthcare professionals, any aches, pains, psychological stuff, write it down so you can get benefits. Contracting, man, we have healthcare providers there. We have someone to go talk to if we want to see a psychiatrist or, talk to somebody on that level. And then there's DBA, the Defense, disability, whatever. It's a healthcare that's provided for us.
Yep.
And so if we're affected from something at work, then yes, this will give us care afterwards, but it's a fight. It's an insurance company representing a company,
okay.
So their lawyers are always out to prove that you didn't, you know the game. So,
of course, yeah. Yeah, I wonder whether, what, 9/11 was 20 plus years ago, 21 years ago? More than that. The way the world looks at mental health now is quite different, actually. I'm pretty sure. It's so much more accepted to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm having fucking issues, regardless of whether it's related to war. But do you think, in your mind, changed things? Was it more taboo? Was there a point when you were there when it was like, hey, you don't talk about this stuff, you man up, you get on with it, or is it?
Well, there's always that machismo in the military or with guys that are, former military. Contracting, we're in such small teams that we talk about stuff, and talking about it with like-minded fellows helps. And we're not talking about sitting around talking war stories and stuff. That we actually discourage that. We hate that. We don't like that at all. But talking about things that matter, we sit in the trucks and talk about things that matter all the time, In the end, we're brothers. And we kind of conduct ourselves accordingly. We have guys that, British dudes that I've worked with back in 2005, 2006. I still contact those guys. We still interact on social media and check in on each other. And, that's just it's a brotherhood. It's the 1% of the 1%. It's a very small group of dudes doing a pretty outrageous job. And, you bond. And it's when you leave your buddies. That's why contracting, we can get by with contracting because it's just like the military. You know what I mean? It's even a smaller group of guys. And but still, when they come home, there's issues. There's guys that are struggling right now, guys that I've worked with. Heck, man, I've struggled since I got home. I've had a longer run than anyone that I know. I'm not saying that there's not people out there that have done longer than me. I want to be clear about that.
Yep.
But I don't know of anyone that's done what I've done. Just a long run. But yeah.
And how was the process of, what you call it really, but the process of kind of dealing with all that shit, ongoing, a year. Yeah, do you ever? I know you're pretty open, and kudos to you the way you've kind of spoken about obviously dealing with that shit. But is it stuff you just keep dealing with and you go, right? Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah, it's you're forever changed.
Yeah.
And you know that you're changed. I'm not the happy-go-lucky person that I used to be. I try, and what I've tried to do in this community is, I've seen the worst that humanity has to offer, and I've seen it for a long time. I don't want to come back and see people being shitty to each other. I want to see a community post-COVID helping each other out, helping out that neighbor business. Let's get that guy on his feet. That's going to bring more people here. That's going to benefit me too. More people come, they're going to come to my shop too. And getting some of these people to work together. And I've actually seemed to have made a little bit of a difference with some groups of people here. And that's the kind of stuff that makes me feel good.
You definitely have, mate. Yeah,
I've been trying, man. I've been trying.
Yeah, it comes across. It's not unnoticed. And of course, we've got a great little click. I hate that word click, but it does explain it quite well. It's like there's a real...
It's genuine too. That's the thing. It's genuine. I'm not trying to gimmick myself and take from people.
Yeah.
I don't want to come to this beautiful valley where I hopefully will spend the rest of my days and take. I don't want to take.
I was about to say, do you think you'll spend the rest of your life here? But there you go. You kind of answered that.
I plan on it. I sunk everything that Pam and I had into this adventure company. And we're trying to thread the needle right now, so I don't have to go back to work. And the inevitability is I might. And and if that happens, we'll cross that road. But we're doing everything we can.
You think you may actually? Well, I suppose what I mean, of course, comes down to finances, right? But
comes down to money in the bank, sir. And there's only X amount in there, and it's running out quickly. So,
is there a lot of that work happening again? Well, actually, what happened during lockdown then? I know we.
So I came home. I was coming home on quarantine. I think I showed you the picture of me next to the runway, the big private jet, and the diplomatic helicopter there. And those were the people that just flew in to tell us that we're absolutely staying. And a week, 7-10 days later, I fly to Thailand.
Where were you just before? You were in
Afghanistan, in Kabul, yeah. And so I'm in quarantine, and 10 days later, we're evacuating the embassy. Yeah. So yeah, nobody knew. Nobody knew at all. And so I came home. Was it right around January? Yeah. And I was in quarantine. We evacuated the embassy, and now there's no job to go back to. The good thing is I have a pretty decent resume for my line of work, and I've had job offers.
Yeah.
But I was talking about how I'm affected when I'm away and when I come home. Our spouses are affected greatly.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I came home to not the best thing. So for me, I can't see going back to make money when my wife needs me here, and my wife has been healing, and it's just been absolutely fantastic. So you can't make me leave at this point. Finances are not. She's coming back to being her healthy, normal self, and that means everything to me, So we'll see. Finances be damned. But there's always that chance that I have to go back to work if enough people don't come back to Pai,
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. I don't think it'll be, I very much doubt it'll be Afghanistan, right? I got some offers. All the shits that's happened now, it's,
the same job I used to have back in Iraq. There's some other opportunities that I have there in Iraq and then Africa.
Yep.
You go where the money is, but sometimes when you look at the money and then you look at the situation that you're volunteering to go into, you're like, maybe I'll skip that one. I'm not getting any younger, and I've definitely had more close calls than I probably should have. And that's just because I keep going back. I keep going back.
Yeah, I mean it's a lottery, right? I imagine if the number of times you do it.
It's absolutely.
Yeah, Pai, man, we are lucky to be here.
Yeah, you have carved out a little piece of paradise that is just amazing.
Well, I mean, I have, but it's not just me, right? I think many people here have. It's
yes, lots.
And you'll probably do the same, right?
Yeah, we got
to build some, but you've not built somewhere here yet.
No, we just paid off the land. And as soon as finances are on track, then we're going to start building something small. We're not going too big. It's just Pam and I.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be big, but You know, you know as well as anybody here, nobody really sits in your house. You got a beautiful house. We don't sit in your house.
Yeah.
We sit outside. And it's all about your yard and where you can entertain. So, yeah, I'm going to follow
Everything is about outdoors here, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's it is beautiful. I remember sitting here 12, 14 years ago, looking at that hill and just, yeah. I mean, from all these houses along here have that view, you know, where you got the hill. And yeah, just was like, well, I want to live here.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. You know, I've been all around the world, and I've been to a lot of places. Heck, I've been to bigger mountains and prettier valleys. There's something about this little valley of Pai that is super unique. I'm thinking maybe it's just the people. I mean, it's our little group of friends that we've kind of chiseled away out of the community, and we have our little group of friends. It's pretty fantastic.
It's true.
It really is pretty fantastic. I mean, you know, they say what? If you have 2 friends in your life that you can count on, you're a lucky individual. And it's like, man, I got like 6 or 7 here. You know, like people that I know I could call and be like, hey, I need a hand, and they'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very fortunate. If 2's the number and I got 7, I'm doing pretty good.
What's your view on this country? Like, it's interesting, obviously, because you've travelled a bit and you've worked in countries that are broken.
Yeah.
That the US is at the point in time trying to fix, and this one's, you know, obviously nothing like that, but it also sits somewhere in between in terms of, in terms of you've got a military government, you know.
Yeah.
Supposedly that's changing, but interested to hear your views on, you know, how it's run. Does it make sense? If you even care, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, here's the thing. I don't speak Thai very well. I don't hear all the political drama. I know what took place. You know, there was violence, the red shirts and the yellow shirts going on for years, and then the junta seized control to stop the violence, and then they held an election, and he miraculously won. Yeah. Man, is it any more corrupt than an American government at this point? I don't fucking think so. I mean, honestly, man,
I mean, corruption is a weird. I mean, corruption is. You can see corruption here. It's just you can't see it in the West in the same way. But and it's
probably
presented,
way more corrupt in the West.
And it's presented in a different fashion, right? So
yeah, here they just do it as we're taking what we want, and in the West it's like, oh, we're doing this for your good. We're taking all this from you for your good. Yeah, it's insane to me.
No, and honestly, I mean, I think we are, for the, I hate that word expat, but it's the easiest way to describe us, I suppose. But the expat life here is
yeah, well, there's a reason why you've met so many contractors while you've been in Thailand. They go, we make our money abroad, and we're like, I can't afford the American dream. American dream's fantastic, and a lot of people can, but I can take that money and I can come to a place like this, and I can have a business, and my land's paid off. Like, you know, I own everything, or you know, at least my wife does. We're in the States. It's like, man, you can't afford anything, let alone if you don't actually want to keep working until the day you die.
Yep.
You know, I'm running a small little family business with my wife. It's fun. It's fun, and it pays the bills. I'm hanging out with my wife every day. I'm hanging out with my friends every day. What more does a person need? I don't need to acquire more stuff. I'm happy.
It's funny that I don't know who I spoke to. I don't know who spoke to. Excuse me, before, but there is a kind of yearning within a certain level of society here, or quite a big part of society, around wanting that, wanting to be that kind of the model of, you know, gain more stuff, feel more happy. Ironically, you walk around the villages here, people have already sussed out how to be happy. Yes, they just, you know, this guy out the back here is probably the farmer who works at the back here is the happiest looking person I think I've ever seen. So it's a bit of a shame that there's this yearning to grab onto kind of Western developed values, and I don't know if they're really the right thing. So
no, I mean, it's a fine line. You know, capitalism has brought more poor people up to middle class and out of poverty than anything else, but it also breeds greed. So yeah, you have that.
There is a fine line. It's getting it. The balance is what you need.
Yeah.
Which I think we're very lucky when you come here, when you've been exposed and grown up in it, to come here and really appreciate the value of money and capitalism, and then the beauty of not needing,
Yes.
or only having what you need.
Well, that, you know,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah, you know, in America, if I told a friend of mine I just, you know, bought a house, the first thing they say, how many square feet is it? Like, that matters. But we're so preconditioned to be good little
Mate, you
consumers.
want to try and live in Singapore.
You know, I imagine it's the same way, man. It's just like, you know, you're programmed to think that you're not happy unless you acquire more stuff, which, you know, you need more money to acquire more stuff. And it's just this vicious circle, and they think that they're going to buy happiness and fill themselves up with possessions, that's going to make them happy. And it doesn't work that way. It absolutely doesn't. I'm not saying I'm going to run out and be a minimalist. I like to have nice things. Absolutely. But I don't need to own the world.
No,
I don't
exactly.
need to have the biggest house in Pai just to say, look at my house. I don't care about that. What I care about is my friends want to come over and hang out because my yard's as good as yours.
Wow, I've seen you happy in this yard a few times. So
Oh,
we've
Jesus.
had some
I have danced
good-
and danced and danced around this pond you got here.
awesome, mate. I got a good idea. I reckon we should. What is it? It's 5 o'clock. It's kind of good light. We should jump in the buggies.
Let's do it.
We can shoot a bit of footage on there.
Let's do it.
Yeah, cool, awesome.
I love you, mate.
Love you too.
It's very brightly colored and it's very loud, and it's fun for a while.
We want to be free to do what we want to do.
Yeah, get some, baby. Woohoo! Yeah, winning. Don't be shy, sweetheart. Get it. Pam Pam at the wheel. Yeah, get it, baby. Oh, here we go. Oh, shit. Yeah, go. No, we don't need brake. No brakes. Go, go, go. I hope you're not getting seasick. Go, baby, go. Yeah. If I haven't told you guys before, where I live is beautiful. Go, baby, go. Get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. Yeah, 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 yeah. There you go. Ooh, that's a big one. Oh, shit. That a girl, get it, baby. Yeah. Oh, she's finding her rhythm now. Oh, get it, girl.
Now, the fun part.
You having fun, Pam? This is awesome. Oh, yeah. The bad mama jamma behind the wheel. Yeah, that girl. That a girl. Oh, you're gonna make the Ranger friggin' jealous. Sorry, truck. Mama has a new toy. I love you, truck.
Back up.
Just set it here for him. Wow. Now that was a good time. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Peace.